And good evening, everybody. I don't know what happened. Welcome to Going nuCLEar, full-blown coverage of the land. Having a little bit of a connection problem there, and I'm not really sure why, but I guess that's about par for the course here. What's been going on? Lots of fun stuff in the world, but we're going to focus on the land. We're going to focus on sports here, and because if nothing else, that's interesting. So joining me tonight, as always, my co-host Mike Rasinski. Mike, how are you doing tonight, bud?
Doing good. Thanks for having me back. Sorry I missed last week, but we just had our last sixth grade baseball game tonight, so I might get a little bit of time back in the evening. So
Awesome.
good.
How'd the game go?
Well, they lost, but Carter
Ah,
almost got a home run off of a walk. So it was that kind of game.
okay, wait. A home run off a walk, and also
Yep.
welcome Jacob. Thanks for
Walked
being.
to first
Tell me
base.
how the walk.
Well, I went to first base. Oh, I went halfway to second. The pitcher threw to first. He overthrew first, so then he went to second. They threw to second, overthrew second, went to third, then tried to go all the way home. They threw it home. Catcher caught it. Carter came to a little spin pirouette, avoided the tag, and reached home. But the ump called him out for outside the baseline,
Oh,
which
you gotta
was
be kidding.
BS. It was BS. He was safe all the way, but
Oh,
so
that's
almost a home run off of a walk. That's Little
wow.
League baseball at its finest.
That is amazing. Well, that's a good way to start us off here. We can talk. We'll have plenty of time to talk about instant replay and new technology in baseball. Hopefully, when baseball season comes around here. But also want to welcome to saying Jacob. Thank you for joining us again here with your expert analysis. We'll look forward here to your Charlie Brown Award of the week for the Browns. There were a lot of possible nominees this past week against. Who did we even lose to again? Oh,
It doesn't.
No,
It
we
doesn't
beat the
matter.
Ravens.
no, and then we lost to the Chargers. We lost to the
We
Chargers.
beat the Ravens and lost to the Chargers. Yeah.
Oh, there you go. Well, yeah, that was a real clown show performance for the for the Cleveland Clowns, and we will have our Charlie Brown Award. Jacob, now as we see things getting kind of into focus, the Browns season is a dumpster fire at this point, and we're on our way to the draft. So you've worked on some mock drafts. We will be looking forward to that. So we went to the bye week, Mike, buddy.
Hey,
Two
we can't
and 7.
lose this week. We cannot lose.
Are you sure about that? Because the news cycle would suggest that we are back as Browns fans to losing the bye week. At least that's what they say. Would you say so? This is my initial kind of thought or assessment, guys. More questions than answers at 2 and 7.
Oh, 100%. Like I want to know what your questions are first, but I have a ton of questions for this team.
Yeah, certainly. So my questions are this: where are they going? What direction do they want to head in? And we're going to get to Andrew Berry's press conference because he said he said nothing while saying a lot of words. Does that make sense? We're talking about what is first of all, I guess you got to look at the overhead, larger picture view. Where are we going to go with the front office? What are we going to be doing with the likes of DePodesta, Berry, Stefanski, and then all of the rest of the coaches will come under that. So even if Berry and Stefanski stick around, what happens with the rest of the staff? Does Dorsey stick around? Does Dickerson stick around? How about O'Shea, Brownson, and the like? And then once you figure that out, you go, what is our identity? What are we going to do at quarterback for next season? And then how are we going to design the schemes and the personnel around them to make this work? Our offensive line is looking older and older. I did like and got it on the notes here. DeJuan Jones played pretty nicely at left tackle against the Chargers. And that's something that's a positive there, a potential positive that could impact the draft. And on defense, I thought that suddenly Joe Woods was back on the sidelines coaching the defense for the Browns because those blown coverages, again, as I explained this recently, that was part of the reason for the name of this show, Full Blown Coverage of the Land.
Perfect.
Because there were so many. And we saw two gigantic breakdowns in that game against the Chargers. And the Browns really have just killed themselves. And that's the difference between winning and losing most of the time. They make so many errors, penalties, missed assignments, etc. It's just been a comedy of errors, I guess. And so those are some of my general questions. What about you, Mike?
Yeah, I want to know. So obviously, this season is done for. So
Yeah.
what is left that we can learn from the season, and how do we get the most out of the players we have now? So I guess on the one end, you got to start looking at the future. You got to look at the draft. What players are you going to keep? What positions do you need to draft for? What are you going to be able to find in free agency? On the other hand, how do you develop the players you have that you want to keep? And what's the best way to do that? For example, is the best way to develop your young receivers to play them with DTR, another young quarterback, or do you keep playing Jameis because he's a more established quarterback and can actually make better plays for the receivers? So which way do you go? But then DTR doesn't get experience. So
Right.
how do you balance that? So those are the questions I have.
Absolutely. Right on.
And then I also have questions for you alluded to this too about the ownership, the leadership. How are we going to draft? Because our drafts have been horrible lately. So how are we going to address that? Like what is our overall grand strategy for this team? Are we going to go for a full teardown again, or do the CEOs of the team want to try to capitalize and with the talent we have? And how do you do that when you have, $120 million still committed to a quarterback that's not going to play for you for the next 3 years? So those are the questions I have.
Oh man, you're right on, and you're reading the mind. I don't know if you heard Andrew Berry's press conference today, and again, we're going to get to some of those quotes, but they talked about the DTR part of it, right? They asked him, "Do you think it's important for you and the organization to see DTR play over an extended period of time to know, I guess, to figure out what you really have?" He's like, "That always." Now this is great because these questions were ridiculous. Like 1 minute he's basically saying it's a collaborative. The next minute he's saying it's on Kevin. This guy, he's catching himself in his own, like, in his attempt to not throw anybody under the bus. Can read all the lines here, but he says that'll always lie with Kevin and the offensive staff in terms of who to play. In general, I would say we're going to play the guys that we think give us the best chance to perform well on Sundays and beat the upcoming opponent. So they're not worried about developing DTR. So pretty much they've said we know what he is and he ain't squat. That's
Okay.
that's my interpretation of it. You
Yeah,
know,
like you said, he said a lot without saying much too. I mean, what about all those times he or Stefanski, whoever said, Watson gives us the best chance to win every week,
Well, that's a good question there. Let's see here. When did they ask him about it? They did ask him about that. They asked him about the idea. And again, I think that he kind of deferred to Kevin having the final say, but then he continues on and basically says, "Oh, but we talk about these things and blah blah blah," and it's just a load of malarkey, and it really leaves you wanting, like, you're listening to it, just shaking your head.
Yeah, I mean, it shows almost a level. I don't want to say incompetence, because I don't think they're incompetent, although they're rising to that level. But it shows, like, if they're not going to be truthful, this fan base has had to live through a lot. And if you're not going to be truthful and just like lay it out, like say it as it is, like this is how we run this organization. This is what went wrong. This is how we're going to build for the future. But instead, he's just trying to spin it and say, oh, hey, yeah, we played a great game. We tried our best. He's saying, like you said, he's saying a lot without saying anything at all. And the fans deserve better than that. And that's what I'm most frustrated about. At least don't try to spin it. Just give us the truth. I mean, we're smart football fans. We can handle it.
Right. And so my question to you is this, and I was talking to Jacob about this, and my thought process is such: you can't throw people under the bus. You try to tiptoe around these questions, because let's say you're a manager somewhere and you start throwing people under the bus who are under you. So one, you've lost the room on those people. And they don't trust you, you don't trust them, the people below them don't trust them. Then if you stick around and you're still looking for future staff, they're like, this guy's willing to go out there and he's going to throw me under the bus. So I don't know how you do it. I'm just saying these are the problems that you have. I don't know what the right
I'll tell you exactly how you do it. This is just basic leadership. You take the blame if something fails, and you give the credit to somebody else if it doesn't. It's as simple as that, and they are not doing. Actually, Stefanski does a pretty good job of that. I'll give him credit, but it doesn't seem like Barry does, and that's very frustrating.
Yeah, and poor Stefanski, I'll say this. He gets put out in front of the microphones way more than Andrew Barry, and he has to answer a lot of questions that, he shouldn't be having to answer. And so we shall see how that all goes. Factory of Sadness, thank you for, of course, being here with us and chiming in. And again, they think they're smarter than any or most other organizations, and they're not. And I agree. And we're going to get, amongst things, there was Daryl Ryder, he put him out. He put up the Dukes. He asked him about, what exactly does Paul DePodesta do?
How did he answer that?
Oh, we're going to get to it. Stay tuned for that. We will get to it. I'm going to keep you in the alert. We're going to go through the quotes here because I think it says a lot. Now, Jameis Winston comes out. So we were hoping as Browns fans, hey, man, Watson goes down, and everybody had kind of been clamoring, saying, this guy stinks. He can't do anything. Winston comes out against the Ravens, and he somehow doesn't throw 5 interceptions. By the grace of God, by Jim Donovan looking down on the stadium and shining the sun in the eyes of receivers, giving the dropsies to defensive backs and safeties, and making a Justin Tucker field goal, miss, hit the goalpost, whatever. I mean, by the grace of God or something there, they win that game, and Winston is the offensive player of the week. He gets slime. Hey, man, we're thinking, okay, maybe we got something like we have at Flacco. Yeah, that didn't last. That did not last. He is, in my opinion, kind of looked like he was ready for the glue factory. I mean, I'm
well. Let me play devil's advocate real quick,
Sure.
And this is only because I heard this from the Terry's Talking podcast from Cleveland.com, so I won't take credit for this. But they analyzed some of the 3 interceptions. They said, the first one, absolutely his fault. He underthrew it. That should have been a touchdown. The other 2, they said were the receivers' fault, where the receivers were just getting pushed around. They were not running their routes. They're maybe getting scared of getting hit, so they were pulling up short. And those other 2 were really on the receivers. And if you look at his stats from after he left Tampa Bay and he went to New Orleans, he actually has something like 8 more, 10 more touchdown passes and interceptions. I know there's the 1 year in Tampa Bay, he led the league in both touchdowns and interceptions. He has that reputation. But if you look at his stats since then, he's been trending better. So is it really him being that bad, or is it kind of the rest of the team letting him down a little bit?
I don't know. I mean, Jacob, I'll let you. I mean, what do you think? Think it's Winston that being that bad, the team letting him down, or where do you fall on that from what you saw?
It's a collaborative effort.
It is a collaborative effort. I love it. You are using the lingo of the Browns front office and Kevin Stefanski and Barry and all of them. It is. It's a combination of all these things. I will say this, and I know you were out of town. You were in Colorado and so on and so forth. Did you get a chance to watch any of the Browns-Ravens game or just any of the highlights?
Yeah, I actually did end up watching that game after it happened.
Okay.
So that was great to see.
And what the biggest difference is he's willing to throw the ball. He's going to sling it. He's not afraid. Yeah. And he can throw receivers open, which Watson could not or would not do anymore.
And here's the other thing. All right, so the Ravens had the worst pass defense. Winston went up against it, and he performed how somebody should perform against somebody with a team with the worst pass defense. The Chargers have the best pass defense. He still threw for 235 yards, which is more than I think Watson threw all season. And this is against the pass defense.
Right.
Yeah,
We had
exactly.
200-yard games under Watson. Yeah, no, it's crazy. But I also think, so, okay, now let's get to the kind of another question about the offense and the identity and where they're going to go. Ken Dorsey, one of the things they talked about with him in Buffalo was the lack of the running game. And for whatever reason, it's like the Browns against the Ravens, I still think they ran it pretty effectively. And
Yeah.
there wasn't anything going on. And I understand. And I hear people saying, Chubb doesn't look right. No, I've seen some good things from him. He makes more than most running backs make out of little plays. He's certainly not up to 100%, but it seemed like they went away from what was a more Stefanski-esque play action offense against the Ravens to a shotgun BS Ken Dorsey offense.
So let's see. Ravens, I was just looking it up. 23 runs, 27 passes. That was their splits
Okay.
there.
Balance.
And now against the Chargers, 24 runs, 26 passes. So it's still pretty even.
I
Just
don't even
looking
know
at the
how that
stats.
happened.
Yeah. I mean, they only gained about 80 yards rushing for each game. So it's
Yeah.
about the same.
It
But they
seemed like
didn't give up on the run. Looking at the box
Yeah,
score. So.
it just didn't seem like they were they ever really got anything going. And again, those blown coverages really messed them up and blew the game open. Other than that, they 6 sacks in the first half. Myles Garrett with 3, and we're stinking up the joint because on multiple occasions there were miscommunications in the back end, and the Chargers took advantage of it.
Yeah, I mean, in the second half, they only gave up 7 points.
Yep.
So
Exactly.
it's those blown coverages. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you give up, or how do you sack the team 6 times and give up 20 points? That's insane. I mean, what kind of stat line is that?
Joe Woods defense.
Yeah.
It's Joe Woods. He pulled the Spider-Man. He came down there and you'd pull off the Jim Schwartz mask, and there's Joe Woods. There he is.
It's so baffling to me.
It's crazy. Now, all right. So we could go through the stats and the crap of that game. And I mean, it was crazy because they had a chance to make it 20-10, and Winston ends up throwing that pick. It was a great play to make the interception. But that's just the way it goes. When things are going crappy, those are the bounces you don't get. And that's just how it went. But on a positive note, DeJuan Jones started at left tackle. Jed Wills, although healthy, did not play. I mean, what do you guys think about DeJuan Jones and whether he might be the viable solution at the left tackle?
Well, why can he play so much better at left tackle than right tackle? That's my question, and I don't know the answer to that.
And I don't either. I mean, Jacob, would you agree? I mean, he certainly played as well in this game as like Wills has played in other games. We didn't hear him mentioned too often.
It fills a position of need, and with Jack Conklin at right tackle, he's pretty good there. So I mean, if you can get DeWand, a nice young player who seems to be doing well there, and then that helps you, and then Jed Wills is another contract in this upcoming off season where you got to decide, are we gonna bring him back? And if DeWan keeps playing like he's playing at left tackle, Jed will not be on the team next year.
Yeah, I agree. I don't want to see any more of this where Jed Wills is just standing there. I've seen too much of that. I don't know what the deal is.
That's our first Charlie Brownie's award winner.
Yes, it might be the grand champion. It might be the grand champion of them all because that's just dumbfounding and terrible effort. And again, Jacob, as you mentioned, if DeJuan Jones can fill that need at left tackle, that means you don't have to go after a left tackle necessarily with like your top pick in the draft. Maybe you can use that for another skill position if you think you've got an answer at left tackle for at least a few years, yeah, that Jed Wills pick was certainly not good. Another draft pick wasted. Typical.
Is this his last year? Is he on the final year of his contract?
He is on the final year of his contract. I don't think he'll be back. Honestly, I just don't, unless he decided to keep him around. He had no other interest and they kept him on the cheap. We end up what'd you think of the move at the trade deadline, guys? I mean, we trade away Za'Darius to the Lions. We swapped some draft picks and then we released Quentin Jefferson. Nothing major, thankfully. And my perspective is at least we got a little draft capital to screw up more draft picks.
I mean, but wasn't Za'Darius also signed for next year too?
I think he was.
That's a dead cap hit they have to eat.
So
as well as Amari Cooper.
I was a little baffled by that. I mean, if we're saying the window's not closed yet, and we just maybe have to get like a competent quarterback, it's closed for this year for sure. But if the window for a contention after going 1 and 30, what is it? 1 and
31, 1 and 31.
We're 1 and 31, and we did that for this to be our window to compete. I still can't believe we gave him away for a 5th round pick essentially, and if this is last year, I get it. We're not going anywhere this year, but that's kind of giving up on next year too.
In a way, I think I could see that perspective, but he's also a little bit older. And I think we can get younger on the D line and need to get younger on the D line at the opposite end, someone to complement Miles. And at this point, it's like he could run out of gas at any point, And I get I could see it both ways, but I'm not upset with the move. I like what he was doing this year, especially even really good this year, even compared to last year. It may be closed for life. See, the 4 is the important thing. So if we can get rid of that guy wearing 4 who is not named Phil Dawson, then maybe we have a chance. I don't know. We can see here. Another thing that was good, guys, Cedric Tillman. He looks like he might be a legitimate receiver. I don't know about a number 1, but why is it? So he looks much better. Elijah Moore actually appears to be a decent receiver. They did, it was the same thing last year with Joe Flacco. I think it's obvious to everybody. They won't say it. Barry won't say it. Stefanski won't say it. They're saying it by not saying it. There were, that clearly Watson sucks. Okay. I think we can all agree Watson absolutely stinks. And if there's any way out of it, they got to get out of it. But if getting out of it means he has to, so they don't get killed on the dead salary cap hit or whatever, if that means making him the emergency 3rd quarterback or doing what Houston did to have him practice elsewhere, fine. He sucks. The guy sucks.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, just you look at the stats, you look at the eye test. I mean, I still can't believe what I saw during the Cowboys game. Do you remember that? Like the very first game, all the hope, and all you see is overthrow after overthrow, and you're like, all right, maybe it's just some rust he has to shake off. And you're like, nope, because it happened the next week and the week after that. He's not good. He's just not good.
Yeah, no statistics are needed to tell that Deshaun Watson is not good. And I mean, between Joe Flacco, Jameis Winston, and Deshaun Watson, with 2 of those quarterbacks, Elijah Moore looked like a decent, maybe 3rd option at receiver. And the other quarterback, the common denominator, is Deshaun Watson.
Yep.
And
I mean, when did Amari Cooper have his best game ever? It was
Joe
Flacco. He couldn't do anything with Watson in those 6 games last year.
No, nothing at all. It's just, and a lot of it probably is from the neck up, from the shoulders up, because I think there's a couple things. One, it's that processing. 2, he doesn't trust and he doesn't trust what he sees, and he's trying to make these heroic plays, and in fact, by doing so, he's screwing it up. He can't make a throw accurately. It's an absolute dumpster fire. And again, my suggestion or my feeling is I think that they need to or would love to see some people's heads roll for that decision. Now we're gonna play a little clip here of Barry, and they did ask him about whose decision was it to move on Deshaun Watson. So there is a question about that, and we will get to that momentarily. So at this point, guys, I'm going to ask you this question. I think this is reasonable to ask. So we have 2 wins, 2-7. We've got 8 games left. Right now, we're sitting, Jacob. What about we are tied for the worst record. We don't have the number 1 pick, but we're in the top 5. We're like at number 5 right now on the mock drafts
We're
you've
number
done.
5, correct.
Okay. So
Yep.
would you
number
rather
5.
win 3 more games but fall to about the 8th, 10th pick, 8th, 9th, 10th pick? I'm just hypothesizing. Or win no more games this year and end up with the 1, 2, or 3 pick. Mike?
Give me the 1, 2, or 3 pick.
Jacob?
I want what?
No, go for it, Jacob.
Yeah, the 1, 2, or 3 pick. Cause it's clear that we need a quarterback, and it'll give me something to look forward to next season.
There you go. All right, Mike, what do you think? Would you take
What-
if they could get 3 more victories the rest of the season, but that would push them down to somewhere around 7, 8 range versus not winning another game, not winning one more game, and ending up with the 1 or 2 pick? What would you
Yeah, I
take?
don't care because I'm not watching the games anymore this year.
Yes.
Maybe I'll watch the highlights or whatever, but it doesn't matter. So if they win or lose, because I won't be watching them.
So you are saying that you're like, yeah, might as well do what's going to be best for the future.
Well, no. So I'm actually going to go the other way though, because you would think,
Okay.
yeah, you would think that's what I would say, but I would rather not have us not be the sad sack of the league anymore. Let's at least see some good highlights. Let's win some games because our receivers are developing, and maybe we found Jameis Winston is a good bridge quarterback till we draft our future, and we're winning those games because we actually see some potential in the team. So I'm going with that. It's a hope theme, I guess, that we can win, build for the future, and still get a top 10 pick.
All right. I like it. I do like the optimism. We'll go with these differing viewpoints, and we'll see how it all comes out.
And at 10, there may not be many quarterback needy teams up there, so you could get away with and there's a couple of good quarterbacks, really bad teams that are probably going to be near the top of the draft order, who don't need a quarterback. First thing that comes to my mind, the Patriots. Drake May has looked not bad. He's looked like he has potential there.
Yeah, he is definitely. You're right, Jacob. And I was trying to look at possible quarterback needy teams and where they are in the standings. And some of them already they just drafted a quarterback. So the question is, are they ready to move on? Like Carolina, they're terrible, but they just drafted Bryce Young. Are they going to move on? You start looking at those.
I mean, they benched him for Andy Dalton.
Now he's going to start again. He's solid, man. Dave Canales going back with him. Whoa.
Well, so what would you rather have, Ethan? The 3 wins or the 0 wins?
If I had to choose, I would take 0 wins. I'd like us to play competitively, but not win. Play competitively, and you can have some good plays and some things to look at and say, this is interesting. But I don't trust Andrew Berry to make the right draft pick, but I'd like to have that hope that, hey, it's our choice to screw up, not somebody else taking the guy we want. That's where I'm at on that. Okay, so at this point, I had on here, we saw, Dennis Allen gets fired from the Saints. That's our next opponent. But he wins the first 2. They beat the brakes off the Cowboys, and you're like, oh my God, the Saints could be good. And well, he just got fired, Dennis Allen. I was going to ask, do we believe that Stefanski will be fired? But I don't think that's the case. I think he's going to be fine for the remainder of the season at this point, especially given the Andrew Berry. So I'm gonna go past that one. But I do want to ask this question. So the question is, should they be fired at the end of the season? So I want to we're going to go around Stefanski, and let's say we finish with 4 wins. We go 4-13. I gave you 4-13, and we saw basically the rest of the way the same thing we've seen. Should Stefanski be fired, Jacob? Yes or no? No comment. All right, excellent choice. All right, no. All right, Mike. If we went 4-13, looked the same, would you fire Stefanski?
No, I'm sick of the instability of the front office. We need some stability. I think Stefanski has proven he can do it. Let's give him another shot.
Right. Okay, I agree. I agree with that one. Okay, Andrew Berry, same question. Jacob, fire Andrew Berry or not? If we go 4-13 and we look the same, fire Andrew Berry or not? Yes or no?
I don't know.
Well, we're
'Cause
waiting. It's a tough
I'm having
decision.
some connection issues. Anyways, I'm not. I maybe like it depends.
No, that's not. No, that's not. No, that's not an answer. We need a
Andrew
yes or no
players
answer,
look.
sir. It depends on how Andrew's players look. Well, then we're definitely firing him because his players suck. They're terrible draft picks. All right, Jacob, you got to fix your connection. We're gonna deal with this here, but I'm gonna come back to you on the next one. Andrew Berry, Mike, fire him or not?
Fire him. I mean, track record of just horrible draft picks, horrible signings like Watson. Like that's on him, and he's the GM. So yeah, fire him.
Yep, he's got to take the axe on that one. Even if it was the owner, he's gone.
Sure.
Fire Andrew Berry. If it continues this way, I want him nowhere near the draft board. I want him fired. I'd love to go terrible just so that he does get fired. I can't. This guy sucks. Okay. Next guy, Ken Dorsey. Fire him or don't fire him. Mike, we'll go to you first.
No, because for right now we saw a glimpse of what he can do against Baltimore. I think. I don't think all his problems in Buffalo were his problem, so I'd like to give him another year. So no.
Okay, you'd stick with him. How about you, Jacob? Would you stick with Ken Dorsey if things continue the same way the rest of the season? Do you think, like Mike thinks, that, hey, there's a glimpse that he can call a good offensive game?
No, I want to.
You want Ken Dorsey gone. You are not a lover. Hey, Stu Pedasso is 1,000% fired. Yes, I love Stu Pedasso. He's a good one. All right. Any of the other main Jacob, are there any other coordinators you can think of that you would say you would love to see walk out the door, never to turn around, whether it be the offensive line coach, whether it be the receivers coaches, or anybody else that you can, whether it be Bubba Ventrone, anybody you'd like to see Gandhi?
I want to see Paul and I want to see Dickerson out the door.
Yes, Paul DePodesta. I agree on that completely. Mike, Paul DePodesta for sure out the door, right?
Yeah, I don't know what he does, so I guess like
yeah. Pretty much nothing, and that's the point. He needs to go. Yeah. He's terrible. And anybody else that you can think of, that would you fire Andy Dickerson at this point?
Yes,
probably
100%.
It's probably the most underperforming part besides the quarterback, of the team. So I guess so. If I had to make a change, yeah.
All right, so I'm going Dickerson, Brownson, O'Shea, DePodesta definitely gone. I want them all gone. Basically, the only person so Stefanski, I want him back. Maybe I'd be willing to keep Ken Dorsey. Like you said, he shows some signs. Let's see how it goes. I personally like Bubba Ventrone, but certainly we haven't looked great on special teams. There's been some moments, and I do like Jim Schwartz. I know there's been these miscommunications. I think that's just a sign of a bad team, and I don't know I don't know that that's all on him. The fact that we got 6 sacks on Herbert, I like that. So with all of that being said, let me go here. So we get to hear on the bye week, we get to hear Andrew Berry, and I want to try and run through some of this, and I'll try and get to the kind of the most important statements, quotes, etc. So the first question that he gets asked is about Deshaun Watson. What are his plans, etc. So let's take a listen here to what Andrew Berry had to say on Deshaun Watson.
For questions.
Andrew, all due respect, this was a big year for Deshaun.
Obviously, the injury has kind of derailed that. I want to know what are your plans? I mean, obviously he's going through the rehab or what have you. What are your plans for him as far as next season?
Yeah, Tom, really our focus with Deshaun, I would say for any player with a season-ending injury and a major injury is first and foremost with the recovery and to make sure that he gets healthy from the Achilles injury. Everything else we'll deal with at a later moment.
Okay, so everything else we'll deal with it, at a later moment. That translates to me, yeah, I don't want to have to answer that question, so we're just going to deal with the next. So then there's a follow-up question about how he's played before he got hurt.
That's how he played, though, before he got hurt.
Yeah, I would say, more broadly, Tom, we didn't play well. We haven't played well as a team, and we haven't played well as a unit on offense. And I think oftentimes when you don't play well on offense, obviously your starting quarterback and your play caller will get the most criticism. But the reality is offense it comes down to organization and synchronization. And, there's just a lot of shared ownership across the different position groups in terms of why we didn't perform.
Okay, organization and synchronization. That sounds to me like there's a lot of blame to go around. You changed the offensive staff. They didn't do diddly squat during training camp. They didn't play anybody in the preseason. And now look what we've got.
Yeah, so maybe you shouldn't go to this West Virginia resort in the preseason. Like, go to some D2 college, and that's where you have your summer ball.
They got to go. Remember when they used to do training camp at Hiram?
Yeah, they perform better than they do now with this going to some resort, some swank resort. So yeah,
exactly. Although there's not really a lot. It's a resort, but outside of what's there ain't much to do in that area. Okay, so the next thing. So they ask him what about the trade for Deshaun Watson.
Why we didn't perform.
You don't think the trade for Deshaun Watson was a good one?
Yeah, Jeff, I'm really not in reflection mode. I think that's probably, I remember I got asked this about, Dobbs last year. It's really more not really my focus at this point in the year. Our focus is really on finishing out the 2024 season, having the team play at a higher level. And then kind of we'll get to those maybe longer term or big picture reflections at a later point in time.
You're not in reflection mode. Your team is 2-7. You screwed the pooch on this trade, and you're not. You better be reflecting, sir.
Yeah, what a cop-out answer. That's awful. That rises to the level of incompetence right there.
Yep. I was just about to say that. That shows incompetency. That you're not reflecting during the season. That you need to get to the end of the season in order to reflect.
Right. All right. Here we go. Next question about the Watson trade. Whose idea was it?
We're talking about at the bye.
Yeah, Andrew, was the decision to trade for Deshaun Watson yours, or was it your idea, or was this a mandate from above?
Yeah, I'd say this, Mary Kay. Like we've always said, all of us were on board. Everyone's on board, and obviously with a big commitment in that regard, that's always going to be the case.
Andrew, what does that even mean?
You know what it sounds to me is that there's two options, and neither one's good. Either Haslam has surrounded himself with a bunch of yes men, which you don't want in any organization because that'll lead to exactly what you have now, or they all did agree on this and none of them have an original idea, or nobody was bold enough to stand up to Haslam, or he's just lying to us. And lying to us is not a good option either. So none of what he said leads to a good option. No, when you look back at it.
Absolutely not. All right. So then the next question comes up. So we've talked about this ad nauseum. Like Joe Flacco looked good. And then we've got people who Baker Mayfield, since he left here, now in Tampa Bay, he's really hitting his stride. So they asked him about that. So let's take a listen to his answer to that question.
To fans that watch backup quarterbacks come out and throw for 300 yards in games. They're watching Baker Mayfield have success in Tampa Bay, and Deshaun struggles to throw for 200 yards in games. What do you say to fans that watch that and can't really understand what's going on?
Yeah, I think that, look, Daryl, when you're 2-7 entering the bye, you understand the fans' frustration. And we have not played consistently on offense, and it's shared ownership. It really is shared ownership. We're capable of playing better. We should play better. And like I said, we're going to make the adjustments necessary to and improve our performance throughout the next 8 games, and then obviously make the adjustments to make sure we're not feeling this way the first 9 games of the year moving forward.
What?
He didn't even answer the question. Yeah, that's a cop out.
He said over. So apparently, over these 8 games, that you're able to make adjustments, but you're not able to reflect. I don't see how that adds up.
I agree. I definitely agree. So then they follow up. We talked about Ken Dorsey. They talked about the changes. They asked him about the changes to the offense.
Your point about the consistency on offense. I mean, you guys made so many changes in the offseason, and now Ken's calling plays. I guess, why do you think there are still those inconsistency issues or new issues compared to last year? You guys made so many changes with the hopes of everything improving.
Yeah, actually, I don't think, number one, if it was one thing I kind of mentioned, like that makes it a bit of an easy fix. I think there are, a variety of factors. There's probably always a little bit of transition cost to when you do make changes. We have had guys in and out of the lineup. And then quite honestly, like just at times we haven't played disciplined football. We shot ourselves in the foot. But again, like that's not new to the NFL. It's not new to our organization. No excuses in that regard. We just have to play better.
Wait a second. No excuses? That was an entire excuse. Well, there's going to be some, transition changes. Is that not an excuse, guys? Because that sounds like an excuse to me.
Yeah, it sounds like he didn't answer
That's
the question again. Come on, man.
Andrew Berry has mastered the art of not answering the question, but
he's treating
a whole bunch of air.
He's training the fans like idiots, and that's what I hate. I mean, and the fans aren't stupid.
Right. And again, I think there's a tough balance, which you addressed earlier, of how to handle it. And I love the way you handle it. You know how to handle things. You're a leader. Can we send you over there and have you straighten some people out, Mike?
Well, I couldn't do any worse than they're doing right now, even though I have 0 football experience.
You don't need it. These people need some common sense. They need some common sense. So then they followed up. There was another question. Why push for all the changes?
I don't talk about contractual matters in this setting.
Andrew, what was the driving force behind the off-season offensive coaching changes? And why were they necessary? And what can you say about the results, considering this offense now ranks at the bottom in just about every meaningful metric?
Yeah, I think probably quite candidly, it's probably a better question for Kevin as it pertains to his staff. I can tell you this: like every decision that we make organizationally is with the aim of improvement and doing everything possible that we can to sustain success and build a winner. So I'd really kind of leave it at that.
So it's not my fault; it's Kevin's fault. That's right. What he said.
Yes, that unbelievable. Well, I think quite candidly, it's a better question for Kevin, and it pertains to his staff. So now he did kind of. So 1 minute, as I was saying, he kind of like tries to shed the blame off of himself. And then other times he doesn't want to blame anybody. You can't make this stuff up. You cannot make this stuff up. All right. There was a question. We talked about it a moment ago. Ken Dorsey and what their thoughts are about his performance, his job safety going into next season. See if he will make a season 2. And see if I can get this timed up right here. So let's check this out.
And what do you think of the job he was doing?
Yeah, Jeff, we think very highly of Ken. He's obviously come in at times some less than ideal circumstances was what we've navigated early in the year. We continue to have a lot of confidence in him. I know Kevin does as well. And, we're going to continue to move forward and make the adjustments we need to improve the play on offense.
Does that mean his job is safe?
Jeff, I wouldn't go into anything for like anyone in this type of setting, but we're very happy with Ken.
In your 5.
So he wouldn't say his job is safe.
Yeah.
But he's very happy with him.
Yeah. That doesn't make it. It's like his job should not be safe.
Thank you. I think we're all figuring this out, that the genius is not such a genius.
Yeah.
And he needs to stick to the he does so well with the salary cap. That's all I want him to deal with. Don't do anything else. Quit touching the football operations. Don't touch my players, et cetera, et cetera. All right. So then there is another question here coming up talking about a follow-up question on why Deshaun Watson hasn't necessarily, I don't know, looked good even when healthy. So I think this goes to our whole conversation. Let's see what the answer is here.
Went on a 4-game winning streak last December. The offense played well for a good stretch with Joe Flacco. Why do you think even when Deshaun has been healthy, whether it was that offense or the revamped offense, you haven't seen that consistent stretch of good offense?
Yeah, understand the question, Nate. I would go back to, like, it really isn't just, unfortunately, it isn't just one thing. And look, we haven't played clean enough on that side of the ball. We haven't played synchronized on that side of the ball. And look, we've made mistakes in every position group, and it's unfortunate. But the positive thing is, like, we do have the second half of the season to make corrections and play better football there.
Obviously, we've heard you talk.
He says we've made mistakes in every position group. All right, well, that sounds like that's on you as the general manager. Bye.
Yeah. What do you mean it's not one thing? Yes, it is one thing. We've seen it, because when you don't have the one thing in there, they play well. When you have the one thing in there, they play horribly. Yeah, it is one thing.
Yeah, I don't know. It's ridiculous. Now, here was a question, and this one made headlines everywhere, asking basically, look, where do you stand on Watson when he is recovered, when he gets healthy? And this was I think a telling answer that Andrew got. So let's go to the clip.
And Andrew, given the resources that you placed into bringing Deshaun here, from the draft capital to the contract, the way you've talked about Deshaun in terms of being a guy that's here for several contracts, given that he's healthy, why can't you commit to him still being the quarterback of the future here?
Yeah, I'd say this, Daniel. Like, our focus again organizationally is like on making sure that he gets healthy. Just the reality of it is, with any season-ending injury, there is some uncertainty in terms of the recovery. And so our focus is on making sure that he gets healthy, and then we can move from there.
So a decision on his future would be more so based on health as opposed to what you've seen on the field in terms of performance?
No, I'd say this, Daniel. Again, our focus is on getting him healthy, and we'll go from there.
Andrew,
Well, what did he just say there? It's not based upon. He wouldn't admit that, basically that. Well, we're talking about the health. They don't want to address his terrible play and such. I don't even know what to say about that, other than that's just, he said a lot without saying anything.
Yep, and I'm sure he probably thinks that it was a tough press conference, but he avoided all the hard questions and he escaped unscathed without saying anything controversial. But really, all he did was insult the fans because they're smarter than that.
Yes, and here's the I thought I was on the Mary Kay question. Mary Kay Cabot asks him about the chance of Deshaun playing again in a Browns uniform. And let's get to that answer.
And we're really pleased with him.
Is there a world in which Deshaun Watson can come back here and play more football for you guys again?
Yeah, I think that's always possible, Mary Kay.
Andrew,
Yeah, he didn't say, "Oh, it's definitely happening." It's possible.
Yeah, I don't think he could answer that question any other way, to say the truth.
It's possible if you have a ton of injuries at quarterback.
It's possible that I could be. Yeah, it's possible I could get hit by a car if I walk out into traffic. All right, and here's the final question, because we all love to talk about Paul DePodesta, whoever that guy is.
As you strategize to figure out a way to fix this, whether it's the roster, whether it's the salary cap, where does Paul DePodesta fit in this process? A lot of people still have questions about, like, what he does and the amount of weight he carries behind the scenes.
Yeah, I think you've heard me say before, Paul's an incredible thought partner. He has great executive experience across multiple sports. He's very smart. very empirical. And he's a very valuable member of the organization.
Could you mention how?
What is a thought partner? And he's very empirical. What in the world is that?
I don't know, but how much is he getting paid for being a thought, whatever he said?
A thought partner.
Thought partner. What does a thought partner earn per year? Because I want to be one of those. I think I can do that.
I could
I
think
have a
of some
lot of thoughts.
Exactly. I have some thoughts to go with my concepts of a plan here. And that was enough. I mean, holy smokes, that press conference, what a poop show that is. And with that, let's we've heard enough from that chucklehead. Let's go to this week's Charlie Brown Award winner from Jacob. Let me get things set up here. We're going to share the screen and we will give you your moment to talk about your Charlie Brown Award winner for last week's game against the Chargers. Okay, so Jacob, why don't we talk? We talked on this a little bit, but tell us, who is your Charlie Brown Award winner?
My Charlie Brown Award winner is Denzel Ward. I mean, this might be a surprise to some people as he is a great player, and I think that's still true. But Sunday, he was not having his best day by any means.
Yeah, I mean, what are you talking about? He's only 5 or 6 yards behind the receiver.
Yeah. He blew multiple coverages.
Yeah,
multiple coverages.
That was terrible. Oh, Factory of Sadness. I know you are happy about this. As you say, yes, Denzel Ward needs to go ASAP. And for Denzel Ward, we will give you your Charlie Brown Award winner for week number 9 against the Chargers.
Good grief.
And that is our Charlie Brown Award winner. Let us go quickly here as we are now seeing this season unfold and fall right down the pooper. Let's go to the mock draft that you have worked up here a little bit, Jacob. So talk to us about what you have. And I'm going to give you the lead in here in this mock draft. The Cleveland Browns are selecting 5th, okay? And we look at the top of the draft board and you see leading up to the Browns pick, you get a wide receiver to the Patriots. That makes sense because they've got Drake May. Will Johnson, a quarterback to the Jaguars. That makes sense. They've got a quarterback, right? And for New Orleans, I think they could be searching for a quarterback. Derek Carr is not their long-term solution, but they go Abdul Carter. The Carolina Panthers, they take Cam Ward. They decide we are done with a Bryce Young experience. And so now on the clock, the Cleveland Browns. And with the 5th pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, the Cleveland Browns select
Jalen Milroe, quarterback out of Alabama.
Oh, that's not a very ringing endorsement there. So you went with Jalen Milroe, the quarterback out of Alabama there, Jacob, in your mock draft here in the first round. What made you go with Milroe over somebody else, over a different position group?
So for the position group question, I'll answer that first. It's clear we need a quarterback. I don't think the quarterback in the future is not in the building right now. I think that needs to be acquired via the draft. And I think when you're in this position where the only quarterback at this point off the board is Cam Ward, I feel like you have free reins to pick just about anyone. And Jalen Milroe is still my favorite quarterback in this draft class due to his rushing ability and to be so good with his legs.
All right, fair enough. That is fair enough. All right. So as you look down the board there, you'll see that Shedeur Sanders then ends up going to the Giants. I would be shocked if the Raiders would pass on him because that's one of like his preferred locations for Dion. And then I think Carson Beck goes to the Rams. They definitely need to rebuild their quarterback room and start thinking about the future there. So then you were so kind as we now see things a little bit clearer of a picture to do a second round of the draft. And so we go once again to the board. We move to the second round. With the 36th pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, the Cleveland Browns select
Tyleek Williams, defensive tackle out of OSU.
All right. So you think that he will be better luck than some of the other guys we have drafted, such as Tommy Togiai? Do you feel like he's got potential to help fill the void at D tackle?
The void at defensive tackle is real big. The only person in the at defensive tackle who could be here, like, let's say 5 years into the future, is Mike Hall, who we drafted last year and has shown some positive signs through the past couple of weeks. So that's only one defensive tackle, and unless you're switching to a 3-4, you need two. So we
Yes.
need to make that position a lot younger than it is. It's a very old position we have currently. So
We have a need there. We do have a need. I like that. So you would take Tyleek Williams. All right. I love it. I enjoy the your mock drafts. We're going to keep it going here through the end of the season. And as we head to the draft, we'll have a lot clearer picture of what we are looking at. And now let's go to the picks, the review of the week 9 picks and our week 10 picks. All right, guys, going week 9. We did not do too badly here, fellas. I think that we did pretty well. So if I haven't screwed this up too badly, which I have, I don't think you're seeing what I'm looking at. Mike, am I messing this up?
We just see a white screen.
Yes, I see that I have done something wrong, and this is not good. Bear with me, folks, and I will.
I will
get
tell
this-
you, what I noticed from the mock draft is that we really need to lose to the Saints next week.
Yes.
If we're going to go neck and neck, we need to lose that tiebreaker with them.
Right, exactly. And so I do apologize here. I have somehow, I don't know what I've done, but we're going to go through it manually because I have screwed up the technology, and I do apologize for that. So let's talk about just our. Well, now it's doing. This is wonderful. You know, I need to be smarter than this, guys. Right? I desperately need to be smarter than this. Let me stop the sharing and see if I can get on this without doing it. Last week, the picks we went with, I went 10-5. Jacob, you went 10-5. Mike, you went 11-4. You are the big winner.
I'm coming back.
You are. And in the overall standings, I am sitting at 94-44. Jacob is at 89-49. And Mike, you're at 85-53. And Jacob, your phone battery is about to die. So let's go on to the week 10 picks here. So we've got Baltimore, Cincinnati, Baltimore, New York, Carolina, New England, Chicago, and we have the Bills and the Colts. Our picks are as follows. We all went the same. We're going across the board. The Ravens, Giants, Bears, and Bills. I mean, we're all on the same thing. I don't think there's any surprises there. Anything of note that you think stood out to you when you were looking at those games, guys?
No, I mean, but this is a week of consequence for the Bengals. If they're ever going to get back in this thing, they need to beat the Ravens this week. I don't think it'll happen, but I think they're done for if they lose this game.
I think so as well. I do think so as well. And I think in your mock draft, Jacob, it showed Cincinnati getting another really good wide receiver. They're going to need it because I don't think T. Higgins is going to be there because Mike Brown's going to go, I do not have the money, okay? And it's not going to be pretty there. Next up, we have the Vikings, Jags, the Broncos, Chiefs, Falcons, Saints, 49ers, and the Buccaneers. The Buccaneers, who had the tough overtime loss in Kansas City. And right here, we all went Minnesota. We all went Kansas City. You guys went Falcons. I actually went with the Saints. I'm going, and Jacob, you questioned me on this. I went with the Saints because I'm going to go with the interim coach bump for 1 week. And then in the San Francisco-Tampa game, I also went outside the box. You guys chose Tampa. I went with San Francisco. And I am thinking that the 49ers are give me 1 second, because now my brain is working here, and something might work for a second, so I can show this. All right, there we go. So right there, I have chosen the 49ers. You guys went with the Buccaneers. In the next set of matchups, we've got Pittsburgh, Washington, Tennessee, LA Chargers, Jets, Cards, Eagles, and the Cowboys. The Cowboys are not looking good, guys. And what do you know? This is a pretty we all went with, the same picks here. I don't see any surprises, guys. What about you?
No, I'm surprised that the Cardinals are as good as they are, but that's about it.
I know. I mean, what's his name? Kyler Murray isn't busy playing Call of Duty.
Yeah, right.
Maybe Call of Duty's making him better, making him more accurate,
Yeah. Oh, we've got a suggestion for a draft pick. From fact, they should take Jack Marius, tackle their tricks from. All right. I don't know who that guy is. Okay. All right. Next up, last sets of games here. The Lions, Texans, the Dolphins, and the Rams. Apparently, I'm the only one. I'm going odd from everybody here this week. I don't understand this. Either
Zadarius Smith's gonna have like 6 sacks, and he's gonna wreck the game.
All right, I told Jacob that was a very tough call for me. I didn't know where I was going to go with that. That pick there.
They lost to the Jets. I still don't understand this. They lost to the Jets, and the Lions just beat down on the Packers.
They had no receivers. I don't know. Are they going to be back this week? The Texans receivers that were all injured?
Oh, no. See, I should have read the injury report. There, darn it. All right. Well, so much for my lead.
We're catching up to you. Hopefully, we'll see.
I'm predicting a perfect 16 or 14-0 pick for me and Mike. Well,
all right, Jacob, did you have $1 to bet on FanDuel?
I don't know. Do I?
I don't know. I'm asking you. I don't know if you have any in your Velcro wallet. I'm not sure here, but those are our NFL picks here. And appreciate, as always, Jacob. If you need to go, you may. We just want to talk. Let's talk a little bit of Cavs here, because they're about the best thing in town, guys. Jacob, do you want to stick with us, or are you good, buddy?
I'm gonna head out.
All right, thank you, sir. Oh, and I didn't want to forget. Well, thank you for all your time, Jacob. We look forward to next week.
Yep, as always, love coming on.
All right, thank you, sir. All right, Mike, I didn't want to forget. You had a question here about the Browns that you posed, and some of the things going on.
Oh, was this talking about the new possible dome on Burke Lakefront airport site?
It is. We saw those renditions just magically appear. They were, what did they say? They were, they got sent to the press.
Anonymously.
Anonymously.
Yeah.
I mean, what did you think?
Well, I mean, first of all, I'm glad that they're shutting down Burke. The looks good. I like that they incorporated like a park area. Like they made that an awesome area that you could, walk around and enjoy the lakefront. And then you have a stadium and you have hotels and you have, another entertainment district in downtown Cleveland. So I like that concept. I mean, I'm still not opposed to them moving out to Brook Park, though. I still don't think that's as big of a deal as everybody's making it out to be.
Yeah, I don't think it's as big of a deal. I don't mind. The crazy thing is this. Why did it take this long to propose the Brook Park thing? If they were in these talks all the way back to like 2017, why wasn't that realistically looked at? Why didn't they figure? Because it's going to take a long time to shut that down.
Yeah.
And then somebody said it looked like a toilet bowl from the overhead view.
I liked it. I thought it looked good. But again, these are just like artistic renderings. There's no I don't think structural engineering behind any of this. So
Yeah, I do wonder where they came. All right, second round pick, Davion Shower Handle.
Yeah. You're familiar with Key and Peele, aren't you?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Yeah.
Aaron.
Hey, Ron,
Aaron from
where's Balake? Where's Balake?
right.
I mean, that's some good stuff. So let's talk some Cavs. Come on, Cavs.
Yeah. I
Gotta
can't
make
believe it took us this long to get to a good news story. Gosh, we're so depressed.
we needed this, and I'm sorry, but Andrew Barry, that was some craziness right there. What do you think? I mean, the Cavs have tied a franchise best record to start a season 8-0 and have the opportunity tonight to go 9-0. What did you get a chance to watch the games against Milwaukee, the game in Milwaukee and the game in Cleveland?
Yeah, I've watched most of the games so far this year. They're just a fun team to watch. They've been winning it in different ways. The first few games were blowouts, but then they have a comeback win behind New York. They have comeback wins both times against Milwaukee. They're showing some grit. These teams, I would dare say, so far is more fun to watch than like the LeBron led teams in the 2015, 16, 17, 18 years, because it's a whole team effort this time. It's just not one guy. And I don't think we were expecting this either. So it's kind of coming out of nowhere where we were expecting a lot of greatness from those teams.
Where did we see that recently? The out of nowhere.
Yeah. It's the same pattern. The Guardians started out hot and they kept it going the whole season. They were 8-2, I think, over the first 2 weeks.
Yeah,
and this is very similar.
It is very similar. Did you realize, Mike, that there are only 2 teams in the Eastern Conference that are above 500 right now?
Is that really? I did not realize that.
The Cavs are 8-0. The Celtics are 7-1. There are another 3 teams that are 500.
Wow.
But it's kind of crazy that they've started out this well. And I mean, it's come from a lot of different places. On Saturday, or against the Bucks in Milwaukee Saturday night, they had to they had to come back from behind. Donovan Mitchell, I mean, that's the kind of thing that happens to the Cavs, not for the Cavs. He's fumbling the ball away. He gets it and nails a shot. I mean, that was unreal.
It was. Oh yeah, you're right. Being from Cleveland and everything we've seen, you're like, there's no way this is going in. And it does.
Yeah, it does. It was amazing. And then Monday night, they didn't have, the Bucks didn't have Giannis, but they were beating the brakes off of them. They're up 19. And it dawned on me, I'm like, oh, wait, I think they might be on. I check NBA TV. Boom, there they are. So I'm able to watch them. I turn it on. It's like 71-55. And then they just came out. They couldn't buy a shot in the third quarter. And the Bucks fought back. Dame Lillard looked really good. I mean, he's a phenomenal player.
So are you telling me you're the bad luck charm? So when you turned it on, that's when they blew the 19-point lead?
Yes, that is it. That is exactly what I'm saying, Mike. I've always known it. I have known it. But Darius Garland, 39 points, and it's been seemingly different people. You've seen Evan Mobley play much more aggressive. You see Jared Allen, a great rim protector and a racer. He blocked the shot of Dame Lillard. Lillard did exactly what he was supposed to do. He was on the left side of the rim, and he went to the left hand, which you're supposed to. And Jared Allen said, get that weak stuff out of here.
Yeah.
I mean, so here's my question. We had a big debate last year about Darius Garland, and we brought up his stats. We were pretty hard on him. So do we need to send an apology card to him at the Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse?
So no, because he deserved it last year with how he played. However, I would be okay with sending him a thank you card this year for saying thank you for working hard in the offseason and proving us wrong, because he seems like a totally different player this year. I mean, we talked about the eye test with Watson. Like I know the stats, they say what they say, but the eye test with Garland is, he looks just confident, and he's not jumping up, not knowing where to pass the ball, and just, throws it up in the air. He knows he's either driving to the rim or he knows who he's going to pass it to. It is I think it's a confidence thing, and he looks night and day different from last year.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's amazing the difference. I've still seen him make a few of those ridiculous plays where he jumps up in the air and has nowhere to go. Well, that still ticks me off. And he certainly still does a lot of dribbling on his own. However, the fact that he took over that game, Mitchell didn't even have that great of a game. It was on Garland, and it's nice to have an alternative there to see that. But I mean, as we just mentioned, it's kind of unexpected. How much better, how unexpected is this, Mike?
Oh, 100%. The Cavs, last year started out like 3-5. I know they had a losing record through the first 10. So I was expecting something similar this year. The only change we made was Atkinson, and I was good with that. I didn't want us to make big changes. I wanted the team to grow together. I just didn't think they'd grow together this fast. So this is a huge surprise. I did not expect this at all.
Yeah, I am amazed by what they've done so far. I'm very pleased with it, obviously, because the critics would have said you need to move a piece. You need to move one of the bigs and or one of the guards. And they said, nah, we're good. We're all right here. My key to the season, tell me what you think. My key to the season is health.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, above everything else, if these guys are healthy, I think they can hang with pretty much anybody in the NBA. I mean, the Celtics are going to be very tough, but I don't think they're impossible to beat. The Cavs showed they could hang with them in the playoffs, and then everybody was injured.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, to me, that's kind of the biggest key to the season is not one individual player. It's the health. What about you?
Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely right. Last year, Allen was hurt to start the season. Obviously, Garland got hurt during the season. Allen and Mitchell were out, during the postseason. But you think about the teams that do well, like the Celtics. What injuries did they have? They had Porzingis was hurt, but that's about it. If you can weather just one injury, and only kind of like a role player to him, absolutely. Strus is out right now, and we're playing well without him. So I think we can weather it if it's a manageable injury like that. But you're right. That is the unpredictable nature of the NBA, with only really 10 people ever playing, getting rotation time, 9 to 10 people. One, two, three, 2, 3 of those people go out. I mean, that changes the whole season. So I'm absolutely with you on that.
I gotcha. And it's not a one-man show for sure, which is nice.
Yeah. And I think what I wrote in our notes was that the one thing I've seen is Mitchell is only playing 29.8 minutes per game this year. Last year, he averaged 35.3. So just showing he's getting 6 less minutes a game, saving the wear and tear. It's because the other guys are stepping up. I mean, Merrill, Levert, we're getting, we're just getting some great play from the bench. And then you have Garland stepping up. So it's not all on him this year.
Yeah, definitely. Right now, 70, as I'm looking at it, you might be ahead of me. I got 72-63. Allen with 12 points. Ty Jerome off the bench, the second leading scorer with 11 up. And now Mobley has 11. So they are getting a little bit of contributions from everybody as they take on the Pelicans. Oh, and now it's 75. I guess we hit a 3. So we're off to a good start in quarter number 3. We were tied at the half over against the Pelicans, and now we are ahead by 12. A little bit of Guardians news here, off-season stuff. Mike, did you see about David Fry?
I did. I mean, I guess I'm glad he's getting it fixed now. But that is sad on one hand, because he had an all-star season last year. On the other hand, it will open up some opportunities. Some of these rookies we have that we want to see how they do.
Right, because they say it's this surgery on his elbow, which was bothering him, and the reason that he couldn't play in the field and be in the other than a DH in the playoffs. And we need him back because he clearly showed he's got some pop and can come up with some timely hits. And if he can play in the field eventually, get him back in there to kind of put him at different positions, that would be very helpful. It looks like they say 6 to 8 months before possibly returning to a DH role, and then 12 months for full baseball activity. So he will not be able to do full baseball until after next season. He's not going to get back to that. So who do you think could possibly replace him, Mike?
Well, I mean, since he is pretty much in a DH role, we're just looking for a hitter. So you've got Manzardo, who could either platoon at first base with Naylor, or you just keep him the DH. You've got you could go with an Angel Martinez. You could go with a John Kenzie Noel, a Big Christmas. If you want to play Will Brennan in right field, you got Big Christmas DHing, or you go with like a DeLauder, who he's our next big prospect, I think, to come up, and he's been injured last year, so we never got to see him. So if he's the real deal and has this like rookie sensation campaign like some of our past rookies have, maybe we bring him up and see how he does in DH. So I think we have a lot of options, and it'll just depend on who performs, I think.
Yeah, I am definitely looking forward to it. We got to have something to look forward to. I'm enjoying the start to the Cavs season, and I'll be looking forward to the Guardians and hope that they can build on last year.
Or with all the revenue they got from their playoff money this year, does the front office spend on a 1-year DH, a 1-year big hitter that we can get?
I'm not going to get my hopes up for that, Mike. That's asking a lot. That is really asking a lot for me to have any faith that the Dolans would be willing to spend any of that extra money to actually improve the team.
Maybe they can borrow it from Jimmy and D. Haslam because they got enough.
They do. They absolutely do. And we got some awards, some postseason awards. Himmy with the and Quan Gold Glovers. And I mean, I guess I don't know how they get platinum glove, but I mean, that's amazing to get 2 of your young players gold gloves. And how valuable was that? I mean, the Quan catch in the game in the Detroit series. They ended up, I think that was the game they lost. I believe, was it not, when Clase then got the home run hit off of him in game 2?
I think so. Yeah.
Nevertheless, I mean, he's a fantastic outfielder. Out in left field, making assists, throws to the plate, etc. And Jimenez, a heck of a middle infielder, might be one of the best. Do you think maybe who would you think was the best second baseman we've had, and where does he rank to the best?
I mean,
in recent history.
It's either got to be him or Robbie Alomar. I mean, my personal favorite was Carlos Baerga, but that's just me. That's just from our lifetime, so it's hard to rate from before that. But I mean, how good is that Lindor trade looking now? I mean, none of us could have predicted this at the time, that Jimenez was going to turn out to be that great of a fielder, and he's decent at the plate too. I mean, he's not as good as Lindor at the plate, but we would have been able to afford Lindor. So if we're getting Jimenez for that, yeah,
it's one of those things. We got to take advantage of this while we have him, and before he gets to a point where of course the Dolans are going to be like, well, do we pay him if he wants the big bucks? What are we going to do? I mean, we could call Julio Franco out of retirement. Maybe Tony Fernandez could come and screw up another World Series.
Oh, too soon. It's always going to be too soon, always.
Yeah, but all right. What did you think? The World Series, the Dodgers took down the Yankees. Were you as happy about that as I was?
Yeah, I was so happy to see the Yankees fail. I'm also proud that I didn't watch a single second of the World Series, and I enjoyed my life better because I don't want to see $200-300 million teams playing each other. But I am glad that I read about it the next day, and the Yankees not only lost 4-1, but apparently performed so badly that their manager may get fired.
Oh, that would be beautiful. That would be a total Steinbrenner move. I love it. I wouldn't have watched any, but my father-in-law called me and said, "Are you watching the game?" Or we got to talking, and there was a question about whether I was watching the game. So I got stuck and tuned into the end of like maybe game 5 and watched it. But what about that jackalope fan in right field and how that was handled? I mean, I want your opinion. Should he have been not only banned from the next game, but first of all, do you believe he did something wrong?
Yeah, 100%. Absolutely.
Okay. How big of a ban should he have gotten? The next game, next season? How far should it go?
Next season. 1 season. Yeah, 1 season of you can't come to any MLB ballpark, and then we'll give you a second chance after that.
Okay, I'm 100% with you. That was ridiculous. It's one thing to reach your hand out and try to get the ball, but if the player gets in there and gets it, you can't try and rip it out of his glove or grab onto it, his mitt.
Yeah.
Somebody could have gotten injured.
Yeah. Can you imagine that if he would have twisted his wrist or something? And
Yeah. Or what if Mookie Betts grabs him and pulls him and throws him out of the stands?
Or that, yeah. Well, then that's on him. Maybe he deserved that.
You're right, but he's fighting for it and he's pulling, and the guy gets thrown out of the stands and gets injured.
Yeah.
I'd have no sympathy for him.
The sad thing is he's probably a local hero in New York, I bet now.
And this on social media, he was getting lots of recognition, like not necessarily good or bad, but it seemed like he was getting a lot of good publicity from it. I did like that the next game, the Yankees gave his seats to like some cancer survivors.
Mm. Oh, that's nice. Yeah.
That was actually really cool. So what a way to end the season. And I'm glad that the Dodgers win. And with that, let's find out what has you going nuclear this week, Mike.
All right. Well, I brought up that stadium deal, the new renderings on the lakefront. So what has me going nuclear is, why should we trust the Haslams to pick this Brook Park site in the first place? I'm not against it. I just don't trust the Haslams at all with any of their decisions. They've ruined the Browns. The Watson deal was horrible. And the Haslams are the ones behind that. Apparently their trucking company, got in huge trouble for all kinds of illegal activities. So what track record does he have for us to trust him to give him $1 billion to build a stadium? He has earned zero trust. So that's what has me going nuclear.
Yeah, that's a very good question. I can't argue. I cannot argue with you. The whole thing with what was it, the rebates and the pilot Flying J, and basically made other people scapegoats.
Yep.
Yeah, it shows some bad choice making there.
And he wants us to give him $1 billion.
Yeah, it's a bit much. I understand the skepticism there. Well, Mike, what has me going nuclear is this week are people who constantly cry, sports are rigged. It's rigged. You see that? The Chiefs didn't get that called on them. Shut up. It is the biggest man baby cry fest I've ever heard. Cut it out. And people post these things and they get other people to watch it. And I'm like, look, it's not rigged. Okay. Not everything is rigged. Just because you don't like the results of it doesn't mean it was rigged. I know something that I wish was rigged yesterday, but we're not going to talk about that. Again, these sports are not rigged. Don't tell me they're rigged without evidence. If you bring me the proof and show me that you can say this official was somehow doing something intentionally wrong and making incorrect decisions on purpose, fine. But until you have proof, that all of this, your theories and stuff are ridiculous, and you need to stop crying about it. You want to go and you want to beat the best. You want to be the best. You got to beat the best, and that's just the fact of the matter. It sucks sometimes, but what are you going to do? And
amen to that.
And that, my friend, is what has me going nuclear. So, Mike, that's going to do it here for us tonight. Thank you so much for hanging in there. Appreciate you as always. And it looks like the Cavs are up to a 16-point lead in the third over the Pelicans. So I'm hoping they should be able to hold on to this one. That would definitely be nice. We could use a victory. We really could use another victory. It would be good for the ego or for the morale around here. So for Mike Rasinski, and also want to thank Jacob for being on again. And thank you to Factory of Sadness for all your commentary, making us laugh. We need that every once in a while. So for Mike Rasinski, I am Ethan Greenberg, and you've been watching Going Nuclear, full-blown coverage of